everyone. Hello. Welcome. If you guys don't know this voice by now, or if you're watching this video on YouTube, then why are you here? What is up, guys? It is James, aka Jimmypancakes20, back here to do a new episode of the Jimmypancakes20 Show, and this episode is episode 16 of the Jimmypancakes20 Show, and this one is a continuation of our Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2009 history video. This is going to be part 2, where we're going to talk about the last maze, which is Saw Game Over. We're going to talk about the Terror Tram, which was Terror Tram Live or Die, and then we're going to talk about the 6 scare zones, and then episode 17, which will be the next podcast / video, that is going to be part 3, where I'm going to wrap up the Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2009 history video with the 2 shows, the Rocky Horror Picture Show and the Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. But, of course, I'm not here by myself today. I am joined back by my co-host. You love her, you know her, my mom, Marsha. So, Mom, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
So, Mom, let's talk about Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2009. So, before we get into that, because I did mention that you did go to Halloween Horror Nights all 10 nights with us, and unfortunately you couldn't be with me when I did part 1. So, really quick, before we get into it, let's get into your reactions of the first 3 mazes. First of all, it was Chucky's Fun House that was inside the House of Horrors, where Chucky took over an old Cardi Fun House and turned it into his fun house where he was turning the workers into killer dolls.
Chucky, he always scares me, but that maze was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Chucky's were popping out everywhere.
And his
in the corner, in the room. I mean, they got me every time.
Yes, and that was located inside the House of Horrors. Now let's talk about what was in the Western arena, which was Halloween: The Life of Crimes of Michael Myers, where it was a mix of the original and the Rob Zombie ones.
I always liked the Halloween movies. I saw them all with James, and that one was really, really good. I enjoyed that one.
And then our last one, which you couldn't tell the story on part 1, but let's tell the people briefly how I tricked you into seeing My Bloody Valentine, and then that year in 2009 it came as a maze for Horror Night. So, Mom, go ahead and tell the story, and then after that, guys, I just wanted to get her opinions on it, and then we're going to move right into talking about Saw Game On, which is the first one we're going to talk about in part 2. So, Mom, go ahead.
So what happened is Brian, James's friend, and my friend, and James and me were all trying to figure out what movie to see. They said, you want to go see a movie called My Valentine? They did not say it was bloody. I started watching it. It's like, I'm going to kill them. I'm really going to get them back.
Oh, and by the way, it was in 3D also.
And it was in 3D.
So it made it worse.
It made it worse. That's the first time I ever seen the 3D movie. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I did, because that maze came in 2009, so I understood the story.
Right. All right, guys. So that is the brief story. It was not my idea. And really quick, guys, just to let you guys know, Marsha was sick for like a week. I was sick for a week. I'm feeling much better. She's still getting over her cold, so if you hear her coughing in the background, Just, she's trying to get everything out. So just be mindful that you might hear that from time to time. So, all right. So that is just, I wanted to get her opinion of the first three mazes because she wasn't there for part one. So, Mom, are you ready to get into this episode?
Yes, I am.
All right, guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 16, part 2 of our Howling Horror Nights Hollywood 2009 history video. So, the first maze we're going to talk about was located on the lower lot. It was behind Revenge of the Mummy. It was Saw Game On. And you have a story when we get to a particular section of this maze. But when we get to that section, we will talk about it.
Got it.
All right. So, Saw Game Over. Here's the description for this maze. Want to play a game? You don't have a choice. Enter the twisted world of Saw, or Jigsaw, this famous serial killer from the Saw horror franchise. For a moment, you set foot in the Jigsaw's secret lair, you know you have been watched. As you narrate the way through the most twisted and infamous traps from the Saw horror franchise, you realize that you're a pawn in Jigsaw's demolish game. Someone in your group will not survive. Will it be you? So, the facade for this maze was Jigsaw's workshop / warehouse, from the movie.
Yes.
The second room that you walk into is the warehouse, where on your left you see a dummy of a person covered in a sheet, and then to your right you see Billy the puppet asking you if you were ready, if you want to play a game. Also in that room, for the first time, you see a person dressed as the Pigman in the red robe scaring you. That's going to be a common theme throughout this maze.
That is correct.
Okay, so now we get to our first trap. The barbed wire trap from Saw 1. It's a flashback scene where the fat guy is trying to go through the barbed wire, and he doesn't make it in time. So instead of you actually going through it, they wanted you to feel like you were going through the trap. Your reaction to that first trap, Mom?
That was a good trap. I enjoyed that one.
Oh, so now we get to the one where we have the story. Let me just describe this room first, and then we can tell your story. The next trap you walk into is the bathroom trap from the first Saw movie, where you see to your right a live actor that plays the doctor, or Dr. Gordon, cutting his leg off. Then in the middle of the room is a dummy of Jigsaw, which I thought for a moment, and a lot of other people thought it was going to be a live actor, but it was just a dummy. So now you see Dr. Gordon, you see the dummy of Jigsaw, or A.K. John Kramer.
Right.
You're wondering where Adam is. Adam, as you get to where the bathtub is, and make that right to go into the next room, Adam comes from your left and scares you into the next room. That was the perfect setup. So
it was the perfect setup.
Let me just explain to you. This leads into the story that Marsha is about to tell you. It smelled like a real bathroom. It smelled like shit. It smelled like pee. It smelled everything. It was so bad. I remember one time I got sick, but you got the worst of it. So, Mom, go ahead and tell your story.
What happened? I was walking through it.
This was like the third. So, just to clarify, Marsha and I did have the 10-night pass. This is when it was cheap, and now Horror Nights is really expensive. Mm-hmm. So back in the day, if you were a season pass holder, they had like a special ticket for like, I think it was $70. You got 10 nights.
Yes.
And this was like on the third day that we went.
The third night, yeah.
And we went all 10 nights.
Yes. So what happened? We went through the barbed wire trap, and then the other one, and then into the bathroom. I got so sick, I had to leave the maze. It smelled like a real bathroom. I almost got sick to my stomach in that scene. I had to leave the maze.
It was so bad, guys. And then once Brian and I got out of the maze,
we met up.
And she was not feeling well. She went straight to the bathroom
and literally got sick to my stomach.
Yeah, that was that bad. So
and then they had to get me a Sprite right then.
Exactly. Yeah, it was that bad, guys. And then they were getting so many complaints that they actually. The fourth time that we went through, when we went with our friend Hector, it didn't smell that bad because they toned it down. But those first couple of nights, they really pumped that scent. And it was not just you that got sick. It was a lot of people that got sick in that room.
Yeah.
So that's our bathroom trap story for you.
But the other nights, I did not get sick.
No, it was just that third night was really bad. So, as you exit the bathroom trap, you walk down the hallway and you see a person to your right dressed up as those pig men scaring you. Then you pass through a hallway and you see a projection of the gun trap where you see a guy put his eye through the peephole and the gun shoots right through his eye. That is from Saw 2, if you know what trap I'm talking about.
Yes, I do know what trap you're talking about.
And then you go down another hallway and then you see the dummy of the person.
Yep.
Now, this is the trap that freaked me out the most.
I think me too.
The Inferno trap. So basically, the way that they did this room was you walked into the room, and to your right, they had an actor that was dressed up as the guy from the Saw 2, and he's banging on the glass, trying to get people to help you. Then you walk down the hallway a little bit, make a right, and then a left to go to the next one. And they have a puppeteer that pulls out this fake body that's burnt. And it would spray you with water. That's the way that they set up that room. And I was like, fuck. And that room got me every single time we went through that maze.
That trap scene was amazing. You get one scare with the live actor banging, then you get the scare with the dummy. So you got 2 in 1.
Yep. And then the next scene or trap you walk through is the girl that's getting frozen alive from Saw 3. Mm-hmm. And it was a dummy. There was not a live actress. And then to your left, there was a person that was dressed up as Jeff from the third movie, comes out and scares you.
Yes.
Then the next scene or trap you walk by is the, I call it the water tank trap. It's from one of the Saw movies. I don't remember which one. I think it's Saw 3, where the detective has the tank over and he has to put his pen through to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that had a live actor that was doing that all night. Then you see another pigman that comes out and scares you. Then you get to the trap from Saw 2, where Amanda is thrown into the pit of needles.
Yes, I remember that trap.
And so the way that they did this one was they couldn't build like at the bottom. So that what they had to do is they had to build a tank or a tube, and they put needles around her, and it was glass, then the needles, and then glass for the safety of the actress.
Yeah.
And then they put makeup on her to make it feel like she was going for the nails. And then, of course, there was another person that was in the red robe that came out and scared you.
Another pigman.
Yes. Yes. So then the next trap you go to is one of the famous traps from the Saw movies. You want to say it, Mom?
The reverse bear trap.
And you see it from Saw 1, where Amanda is trying to get the key from her roommate where she thinks he's dead, but he's really not. So they basically had an actress with the reverse bear trap. They had a person that was on a table that had a fake body, and he had like something to control the water to spray you, and then that made it look like Amanda was cutting into his body, but it was a fake body.
Like he was under the table.
He was under the table. Yeah. And then the final room in this maze was, we go back to Jeff from Saw 3, and it's the room where Jigsaw is in the bed. He sees his dead wife with the shotgun collar blown up, and then Jeff comes out with a saw, pretends to kill Jigsaw, and then there's an actor that's dressed as Jigsaw, and remember, they pretend to pull his face off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was the finale of this maze.
But the end scene was amazing. I really enjoyed it.
And then, of course, what they always do for every single maze, sometimes they always have one last scare where they have a pigman that comes out, and there's Billy the puppet in the dumpster, and he says, "Thank you for playing," or something like that.
Thank you for playing the game or something, yeah.
And then that was the end of Saw Game Over. So, Mom, your thoughts on this one, but remember, we don't rate the mazes. This is a history one. If we're doing a review, that's when we would rate it.
Right.
So, your thoughts on this maze?
I really liked this maze, except that one time in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
But this maze, I got the scares totally. They got me every time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really a good maze.
Mm-hmm. All right, so are we ready to move on to the terror tram?
Yes.
Live or die. So, Billy, Jigsaw's messenger June from the Saw horror franchise, invites you to play a game on the famous Universal backlot. To win this game, you must survive Billy's test as a group, but even the members of your party, even if one member of your party doesn't make it to the other side, everyone will pay the ultimate price. Will you make it to the end? Let the games begin. So, basically, every year when they do the Terror Tram, they always have a video that they play for you so you can get the backstory of what you're going through. To really understand what happens at the end of the Terror Tram, I usually would not read video descriptions, but this one I have to read so you guys understand the Terror Tram for this year, because it ties in. So this is going to be a long read, so I apologize, so bear with me for a moment. Once everyone is loaded onto the tram, dodging various zombies on the way, the tour guide will play a short trailer of the event, mostly containing with Saw footage. When the video is over, the terror tram will then start to move and the tour guide will introduce themselves and the driver. After the introduction and the video safety announcement, the tram video is will then be hijacked by Jigsaw, aka John Kramer, with the help of Billy the Puppet. Kramer will give a monologue about the experience the guests will find themselves in. So, this is the monologue, guys, now. Hello, want to play a game? All of you are here tonight for one reason. You want to be scared. You know what the thrill of being you want to know the thrill of being close to death. Without even having the confront to face it face to face, but this is why you guys watch horror movies, to experience death at a safe distance. Well, tonight this is all about to change. When this vehicle stops and the doors will open, you will get out and walk through a series of tests inspired by the very horror movies that you are so obsessed with. Having even have to even ask yourself, why do you watch horror movies? Then let me ask you, Ron, Don Robinson, for you and your friends, horror movies is an act of rebellion. You draw to everything your parents assess to, but do your parents know about your other hobbies, the acts of vandalism that you have committed? You don't, you don't, you don't anything to leave you marked. You do everything to leave your mark, but now it's you that's being marked. Tag, you're it. And to you, Sherry Martin. So Sherry Martin's going to play a critical role at the end of the Terror Tram. So just remember that name, Sherry Martin, will play a critical role in the end of the Terror Tram. As you asked, horror movies give you a rush of addiction, but addiction is not the only thing that's causing through your veins, is it, Sherry? Do your friends know about your secret addiction? Do they know about the things that you have stolen from them to feed your addiction? And for you, Charles Buckwheat, you say horror movies are just an escape, but where are you running from? Could it be the alcoholism that ruined your life? Even now, as you do feel the weight of the bottle you got hiding underneath your jacket, the one that you snuck by security, the day of reckoning has arrived for all of you. But to survive this test, you must go. You're going to need help. You see, this is a group test, and to succeed, you must survive it together. The game is about to begin. Your selfish individual needs tremble the safety and well-being of the group. Remember, stay together, even for even one of you that doesn't make it to the other side. You will pay the ultimate price. Lose one, lose all. Live or die. Make your choice. Let the games begin. With that, the guests are led off the tram and into the back lot. So, before we go any further, Mom, what did you think about that story? And especially Sherry, the one that I did mention, is going to play a critical role at the end.
Yeah, Jigsaw's gonna get us, and we all play a critical role.
Right.
So you'll see at the end what happens, but you'll just have to wait and see.
Right. All right. So first section, they were doing sections again for 2008. So the first section was the Grinch set. As you get off the terror tram, you're greeted by killer clowns with chainsaws. Pretty much that was the whole thing.
Clowns chasing you
With
to the next scene.
Yep. So the next one was called Movie Killer Convention at the Bates Motel.
Mm-hmm.
As you enter the Bates Motel, you don't go the long way around. You go the short way through the back alley. Mm-hmm. So one of the cool things that I noticed this year was the convention sign is the dates of this year's event. Did you notice that?
I noticed that, and that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The sign was right there when we entered the Bates Motel area.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. So we had many icons return this year. From last year, we had some of the characters from The Strangers returned. Yeah. And then basically the rest of this area was victims, people dressed up as Norman Bates, and then people dressed up as Mother. That's pretty much all that area was. So not really anything too exciting.
But, when I was walking through the Bates Motel, they all got me.
Yeah, they got me too. Really good. So the next one was called My Bloody Valentine, Dirt Path and Hilltop. So we were still going up the dirt path. Yes.
Yeah.
As you enter this area, you see a police car and then some tents set up. Normal. As you start to walk up the hill, you see a guy dressed up as Harry Warden. As you are walking up the hill, you hear animal sounds, and then they have those people on those camels with the hand shakers. They would get me every single freaking time.
Me too.
Yep.
You never know where they were in the path.
You never know. As you got to the top of the hill, you went through a burning structure and you saw a victim with her tongue messed up. Yeah. And then also Harry Warren came out from a porta potty scaring you. I thought that was one of the highlights of that thing. And of course, there was random victims and Harry Warden walking all at the top of the hill. And then there were some dummies on the tree.
Yep.
So standard. Then they had some cars at the exit of this area like they had at the beginning and see they had at the beginning of the film, the party scene.
Yes.
And then this one was really short. Just like what they did in 2008. They had the sheet maze and it was Michael Myers coming out and scaring you. Still no photo op at the Bates
Bates Motel.
No, Psycho House.
Psycho House.
Psycho House. So the same as 2008. Norman Bates would be outside scaring people. No photo op this year, but some people would stop and take a photo. It just depends.
Mm-hmm.
And then the War of the World set was containment zone. Basically, this area was a war zone with lots of military personnel and lots of zombies. Pretty much simple. And then, of course, as you were going back to the reload station, it was Killer Clowns again. chasing you out, and then you got back on the terror tram. And that's where you think the story is going to end. But do you guys remember the name of the person that you had to remember?
Sarah.
Nope, it was Sarah. Sarah, yeah.
I forgot her last name already.
Yeah. So, as you head back to as we were heading back to the lower lot, you realize that one of the members of your party failed the test. The girl with the drug problems from the video failed the test, and instead of going to the unload station, you entered the mummy's tunnel, and before you entered, you saw her tied up in a tree, and one of the pigmen in the red robe is cutting her in half. Then basically it does the usual thing in the mummy tunnel, where it pretends to spray you with acid,
Yes.
but it's really just water, and then you head back to the unload station, and then that is the end of the terror tram. I liked it when they had those sections with the mummy tunnel.
Yes.
Until they got the new grand finale, which was Fast and the Furious
Charge.
Yes. So, Mom, your thoughts on the terror tram this year?
I really liked the terror tram. They scared me half to death. But I liked the mummy tunnels, and mummy tunnel when we went there and pretended to spray us with acid. I really missed the mummy tunnel.
Yeah. So.
But otherwise, the terror tram was really, really good.
Yeah. All right, Mom. So, are you ready to move on to scare zones?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, the first scare zone was called Let the Games Begin. It was from the front gate up to the entrance of House of Horrors. Here's a description. Once you step through the turnstiles of Howling Horror Nights, the game is on. Your first challenge is to make it past Jigsaw's chainsaw-wielding pig-faced minions, but don't dig too close or you might end up a victim. Basically,
it was the pigmen from Saw.
And if you're on YouTube, you can see the photo. You basically had these guys chasing you. That was pretty much what the scare zone was. And I think every single year, starting from 2008, it's always had chainsaw people. I don't think they ever have changed the concept.
No, they haven't.
No.
The years I went,
no.
It was always the chainsaw at the beginning.
Yep.
Of the park.
Now we get to our next scare zone, which is Welcome to Hell. Mm-hmm. Here's a description. New York Street has transformed into hell on earth with flaming towers, stilt walking demons, and scare actors dressed up as scare actors inspired by the 7 deadly sins. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time that they ever used the flaming tower. From 2009 up to 2023, they have always used the flaming tower. We don't know about this year for 2024 because, there's a lot of construction going on at Universal. Who knows if they're going to have a flaming tower back. I'm hoping they still use it, but we're just going to have to wait and see.
Right.
Your thoughts on that, but your thoughts on the first time, this is the first time we ever saw the flaming tower.
I really like the flaming towers. The guy was up on top, like scaring people.
The stilt walker.
Stilt walker, and like he was right behind me one time. I turned around, I screamed like a little baby.
Yeah.
But I I like that scare zone. I always liked the chainsaw guys.
I always did too. This was one of the first time that they had the go-go dancers in this area. All the rest of the years, from 2008, they were up in front. 2009, they were in the scare zone. And then when they brought the go-go dancers back in 2010, they moved them back to the front of the park.
Right.
This was the only year they had it in an actual scare zone.
Yep.
As you entered the scare zone, you saw there was a platform where you saw an evil priest with a live mic making fun of people. If you're looking at the video, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the photo, and this is the priest right here. You can see some of the demons, and then you can see some of the go-go dancers in the background as well. In front of the Flaming Towers, that's where they had the go-go dancers covered in flake blood, and they were in their bra and panties. No joke. No joke.
I know.
If you guys want to look this up, you can look up Welcome to Hell, HHN 2009 Hollywood go-go dancers. You're going to find a ton of photos of them in their bra and panties. And then the rest of the scare actors were different demons from hell. And also, they have the stilt walking devil. So, I want to say there was only one scare zone this year that I did not like. All the rest I did like.
I think we're on the same page with the scare zone.
So the next one we're going to talk about is the meat market. Yep. Okay. Basically, this was on the Western Street. Here's the description: the meat market is a bloodthirsty family of butchers that are looking for some choice pieces of meat. So basically, these are the butchers that scared you in that scare zone. They also had some victims walking around. Really, they didn't put too much effort into this scare zone. It was okay, but it wasn't really good. So
I agree with you, James.
yeah.
I mean, I got some good scares out of there,
Right.
but I didn't really like it.
I didn't really like it either. But yeah. All right. Next one is one of my favorite scare zones of this year's event. Yours too. You want to say what it is?
Shaun of the Dead.
Yes, you and I are a big fan of the movie. We enjoyed the movie. And then, we were excited when this scare zone was announced.
Actually, we spent more time in that scare zone instead of the other scare zones.
Yeah, this was the one that we spent the most time in. Here's the description. And this was located on Baker Street, aka London Street. Before it turned into Pet's Place. Now that's the name of the street now because the Secret Life of Pets are there. Zombies have invaded Baker Street, aka London Street. It's now up to Shaun and his zombie slayer friend and to save themselves from a horde of fresh-eating zombies. As you entered the scare zone, you saw Shaun holding his friend Ed. This is what you're seeing in the photo if you're watching this on YouTube. And then they had different zombies. One of my favorite zombies they had was in the movie they were throwing vinyl records at the zombie and some of the vinyl record gets stuck in his head, so they had that zombie walking around and other ones too. So yeah, this was our absolute favorite scare zone of this year. So really did enjoy it. I would love for them to do like a full blown maze of Shaun of the Dead or bring back a scare zone, but we'll see. So,
this was my absolute favorite. Every time I walked through that scare zone, they scared me They scared me every time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So now we're going to go to a scare zone that I thought was okay. It was good the first year it came, and then it came back 2 more years, and we'll get to it when we get to those years. But this was the first year they did it, and it was okay. Freaks. Basically, it was a carnival of freaks that basically set up camp on French Street, and they have the taste of human blood. So, yeah. That's basically what the description is, and it's basically was different freaks. They had two-headed freaks, they had a freak elephant, they had different types of freaks, and this was an okay scare zone. It was a little bit better than the meat market, but not that much. So, if I honestly had an opinion, I think meat market and freaks were the ones that were okay, and then Shaun of the Dead was our favorite, and then There Will Be Blood is chainsaw guys that they have every time in the front, and then we have one more scare zone downstairs.
Right.
So, your thoughts on Freaks, Mom? The first time, first time.
They scared me. I mean, I walked through it and they scared me, but it wasn't my favorite one.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite either. So, now we're going to move on to our final scare zone. You're like, James, didn't we already see this photo? There's a reason. There will be blood on the lower lot. Jigsaw's dominion game continues. Billy, Jigsaw's messenger of doom, broadcast on a giant video screen. At the end of the street is the entrance to Jigsaw's lair. To get there, you must survive a gauntlet of Jigsaw's pig-faced maniacs. Watch out or the game is over. Basically, it was the same concept as the one that you entered from. So, it started with Saw. When you got down to the Saw maze, the lower lot was the Saw scare zone and the maze. So, the whole theme was around Saw this year. So, they had 2 scare zones with Saw, same characters at the front of the park and on the lower lot. So, not really much to say on that.
No. When we went down on the lower lot, yes, they did scare me. But it's too many pigments in the upper lot and the lower lot.
Right, so...
They gotta tone it down next time.
Well, if they ever bring Saw back.
If they ever bring Saw back.
Yeah. So those are the scare zones. Those are, the rest of the mazes and the terror tram. I hope you guys enjoyed part 2. So, before we wrap up this video, since I am the host, I'm going to say the final words. But Mom, your final thoughts on anything for the Saw maze, the terror tram, or the scare zones before we wrap up episode 16 of the Jimmypancakes20 Show.
Yeah, I like the scare zones and everything. I like the terror tram. But it was a good year. I enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah. So that's all you have to say?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, guys. So, yeah, I did enjoy it. Basically, episode 17 is going to be the final part of the Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2009 history video, where I'm going to be joined again by my co-host, Marsha, to talk about the 2 shows, which is the Rocky Horror Picture Show, a tribute, and the Bill and Ted Show. We have a lot of things to talk about that. So this is going to wrap up episode 16 of the Jimmypancakes20 Show, part 2 of the Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood history video, where we talked about the last maze, the saw Game Over, the Terror Tram, and the Sit Scare Zones. I want to thank again my co-host Marsha for joining me in this video.
You're welcome.
And that's a wrap, and we'll see you for episode 17 coming out soon. So this is James, aka Jimmypancakes20 signing off, and we'll see you guys for episode 17 coming soon.